To summarize, the Fed has started a cycle of dramatic interest rate hikes. The goal is to fight soaring inflation. It's also begun quantitative tightening to make a dent in its $9 trillion balance sheet.
Basically, it'll be 1.7 to 1.8 trillion of quantitative tightening by the end of next year. What that does is dries up the free money that the market likes so much.
The concern is that rates will be raised too high too quickly. Rate hikes are already affecting the housing market. Senior analyst Sean Broderick, editor of Wealth Megatrends and Super Cycle Investor, says anything can happen.
Now, you don't think a recession next year is necessarily a done deal?
What we're talking about is the future, and that's a problem, because the market is a discounting mechanism. It looks at the future. And so it's anticipating now that we will have a recession probably sometime in 2023. The Fed might be able to engineer a soft landing. It can change the rules as much as it wants.
Sean says, keep in mind, inflation is not something entirely in the Fed's hands.
About 3.5% of the 8.6% year-over-year inflation that we're seeing comes from Russia's invasion of Ukraine. That lit a fire under oil prices, lit a fire under food prices. The Fed is trying to control something that it doesn't have a direct tool to control. And so as it hikes rates to try and deal with this, what it's really trying to do is slow down the economy, because that's the only way to actually lower energy prices at this point, is to lower demand. You lower demand by slowing down the economy.
You've written about how the healthcare sector is viewed as recession resistant.
As long as people can afford healthcare, they will get it. No one likes to be sick. No one likes to have any kind of problems that can be dealt with by a doctor, so they will pay for it. And so it doesn't make healthcare recession-proof, but it makes it recession-resistant.
And there are several ways to take advantage. One is through the ETF Healthcare Select SPDR Fund, ticker XLV.
You can see how it's coming down to major support. It hasn't been immune from the stock pullback. But in something like healthcare, this pullback is a buying opportunity, especially as it comes down to major support. It has a dividend yield of 1.58%. That's really good for an ETF that's less vulnerable to the wild swings in the market.
Its top holdings include
Johnson & Johnson, United Healthcare Group, Pfizer, AbbVie, Eli Lilly. So you get all the big names in one basket.
And different types of healthcare stocks, medical device stocks, payer stocks, healthcare provider stocks, and pharmaceutical stocks. Take a look at how much the global market, just for over-the-counter drugs, is expected to grow over the next 8 years, from about $171 billion to $294 billion. When picking individual stocks, look for growth prospects, financial strength, valuation, and dividends.
What I would really recommend is that people buy individual healthcare stocks that'll potentially outperform.
Like Johnson & Johnson, which Sean recommended in the Super Cycle Investor portfolio.
This is one of the biggest and best healthcare stocks in the world. It pays a dividend of 2.66%. It's a dividend raiser. And you can see that despite all the market chaos, J&J is actually holding its uptrend.
How do you think investors should view this period right now?
I am short-term bearish. Intermediate term, I don't know. There's a lot of things that can affect the market and push things around, both in the negative and also in the positive. The longer-term trend of the market is up. We're having a bit of a rough patch here. We can still make money during the rough patch. Look at value stocks. That is where you're going to make your money in the short term and perhaps the intermediate term as well. Value stocks tend to have higher cash flow. They use that cash flow to pay dividends. This is the hallmark of many great healthcare stocks.
Right now, you can prepare for and profit from any number of forces.
Senior analyst and Megatrends expert Sean Broderick, great speaking with you today. Thank you so much for your insights.
Thank you very much for having me on.